What these fishermen encountered is still hard to explain. They sailed out of the harbor after a strange tip about a potential massive catch, but this crew got way more than they bargained for when they suddenly encountered this strange creature. They thought they caught a shark, but turned pale when they realized what it really was. But before we start, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming stories. The docks were alive with the usual chatter of fishermen preparing for the next trip. Among them were Tom and Rick, two seasoned fishers who had spent years working together. They checked their nets, planned the route, and discussed the best spots to cast their lines. It was shaping up to be a calm day, but then, suddenly the peaceful morning was interrupted by the loud blaring of boat horns. Everyone at the docks turned to see a couple of rival fishing companies sailing into the harbor, their crews cheering loudly. It was clear they had a big haul, since their boats rocked with the weight of fresh fish. Tom and Rick could see the excitement on their faces as they sailed in closer. They had a good day. That expression was impossible to miss. After the two rival fishing boats docked next to Tom and Rick's vessel, a broad, smiling sailor jumped onto the shore. The man's excitement was hard to retain as his voice rang out across the harbor, quickly drawing the attention of nearby fishermen. Intrigued by the commotion, a crowd gathered as he handed Rick a slip of paper with coordinates, claiming a warm patch of water had mysteriously appeared offshore. According to him, fish were swarming to the area in massive numbers, practically leaping out of the water, making it the easiest catch anyone could hope for. At first, the fishermen were doubtful, exchanging skeptical murmurs, but when the man pulled back the cover of his haul, revealing a boat overflowing with fish, disbelief turned to amazement. The proof was undeniable. He had caught more in one trip than most would in a week. The crowd buzzed with excitement, realizing this could be a rare, one-time opportunity. Tom and Rick didn't hesitate. They exchanged a knowing glance and immediately began preparing their vessel. Their crew, equally energized, rushed to load equipment, check fuel levels, and secure the nets. Time was of the essence. If the phenomenon was real, it might not last long. Amid the frenzy, one fisherman voiced concern, warning that natural events like this were rarely random and could be signs of something more dangerous. But Tom brushed it off, confident in their experience and eager for the reward. With everything ready, Rick started the engine and the boat rumbled to life. As they pulled away from the dock, the crew was filled with excitement, unaware that the strange waters ahead held more than just an abundance of fish. Rick took his place at the helm, steering the vessel out of the harbor. The morning sun reflected on the water, turning the ocean into a shimmering path before them. It was truly beautiful, and it made the crew eager to sail the open sea. But that calm sight was only the calm before the storm. The further they went, the quieter it became. The crew adjusted their gear, talking in hushed tones. Anticipation hung thick in the air, a mix of excitement and a little unease of the unknown. As the crew sailed toward the reported location, Tom and Rick closely monitored the instruments, especially the temperature gauge, for any signs of change. After about an hour at sea, tension built among the crew as they neared the coordinates. Though the water still seemed normal, a sense of anticipation hung in the air as they searched the horizon for any sign of the mysterious phenomenon. Just before the horizon stopped his vision, Rick saw movement in the water. Thousands of tiny shadows were bursting out of the water's surface and jumping into the sky. From their position, it didn't seem like much, just minute black pixels against the orange glow of the morning sky. And with no other boats in sight, they had the first grab of whatever was waiting on the horizon. As the boat sailed closer, the situation became more apparent. The pixels from before were now vibrant fish jumping out of the water, a beautiful sight. Rick and Tom appreciated the serene moment, but that was not why they came here. These fish would put money in the bank and food on the table for them and their crewmates, so without hesitation, they positioned their fishing vessel between the strange phenomenon and threw out their nets. But right before the thin roped nets hit the water, Tom noticed something else. There weren't just regular-sized fish swarming around them. There was another find in the water. This one was much larger than its neighbors. The crew's excited demeanor quickly turned stale as they realized what they were looking at. The large fins circling their boat didn't belong to a shark, according to their estimate. It was much bigger than any species they had ever encountered before. The strangest part, the fin was actually small compared to the sheer size of the creature's body in its entirety. Normal sharks usually had a large fin and a reasonably proportioned sized body attached to it, but this beast was different. The shark's presence was impossible to ignore. It moved through the water with purpose, circling the boat like a predator sizing up its prey. The water churned around its body, hinting at its unbelievable weight. And what happened next was the last thing the crew could have hoped for when setting out this morning. Without warning, the shark slammed into the side of the boat. The impact was so strong that the entire vessel rocked back and forth violently. Several crew members lost their balance, gripping onto whatever they could to avoid falling overboard. "Sharks don't do that," Rick muttered, his knuckles white as he held onto the wheel. Most sharks avoided boats, wary of their size and movement, but this one was different. A tense silence filled the air as the crew held their breath. Then the Fine reappeared on the opposite side of the boat. It had swum underneath them only to nudge the boat again from the other side, pushing against the boat like it was trying to see how much it could take before tipping over. Tom and the crew quickly realized they were dealing with something far more intelligent than a typical sea predator. The creature's movements were calculated and strategic, as it relentlessly targeted their boat. Despite the crew's growing fear and calls to retreat, the attacks intensified, with the creature striking from different angles and causing chaos on deck. When it became entangled in their fishing net, it used its strength and sharp features to destroy the equipment. In moments, all their hard work was undone, and their gear was left in ruins. The destruction was deliberate. It was clear the creature understood their operations and aimed to sabotage them. As the crew stood stunned by the damage, it became evident this wasn't an ordinary shark. It was something far more intelligent and dangerous, thinking several steps ahead and ensuring they had no way to fight back or escape. Panic began to rise among the crew, with no clear solution in sight. Running seemed impossible, but staying put wasn't an option either. They were caught in the middle of a situation they didn't understand, and it was about to get a whole lot stranger. This animal not only wanted to free the fish within their nets, but also wanted to communicate something. Tom had already put the boat in reverse while the team reeled in the broken nets. The giant creature jumped out of the water for the first time since the crew arrived. The giant bluish-gray mammoth was the largest sea creature Tom and Rick had ever seen. The massive creature hit the water's surface, sending a ripple wave toward the boat. The wave instantly shoved the vessel at a 45-degree angle before settling back to a steady position. After the fishermen regained their footing, the crew looked at each other with confused glances. The crew stood in stunned silence, unable to identify the creature before them. Its size, intelligence, and behavior were unlike anything they had encountered, leaving them questioning whether it was a shark or a whale. The crew was left confused and in awe, unsure of what they were dealing with. The creature had the size of a small whale, but its body was different. Its skin had a strange texture, rough in some areas and smooth in others. Its fins were unusually shaped, and its movements were nothing like any whale they had ever encountered. As the crew struggled to make sense of the situation, the creature began acting strangely. About 200 feet away from the boat, it started jumping out of the water erratically. It wasn't a graceful breach like a whale, it was frantic, almost desperate. The smaller fish were still jumping too, mirroring its behavior. The crew observed the strange behavior of the creature, noting it resembled the actions of the fish earlier, leaping and twisting in an unnatural way. Rick became increasingly skeptical about the natural explanation for the warm waterfront, realizing that the situation didn't add up. One of the younger crew members suggested that the warm water might not be a natural occurrence at all, but something man-made, like pollution or underwater construction. The idea sent a wave of unease through the crew, and they began to realize that the creature wasn't just freeing the fish, it might be trying to communicate a deeper message, making them feel like they were part of something much larger and more deliberate. As if responding to their conversation, the giant creature suddenly stopped jumping. It turned toward them, watching the boat for a long moment. Then, without warning, it dove under the water and reappeared closer, circling the vessel once again. Its movements were slow, deliberate. It was signaling for something. The creature swam away from them in a straight line, heading west. The crew watched as the creature swam away, initially believing it was retreating. However, Tom quickly realized that it wasn't fleeing, it seemed to be guiding them somewhere. This shift in perspective raised the possibility that the creature was trying to communicate. It had already demonstrated intelligence by sabotaging their nets and freeing the fish, leading Tom to believe it knew something they didn't. As the creature disappeared into the distance, Tom felt compelled to follow, despite the risks. The crew exchanged nervous glances, torn between curiosity and fear. They had come for an easy catch, but now they were faced with something far greater. Tom urged them to follow, confident that the creature was trying to reveal something important. While some crew members were hesitant, worried about the dangers they might face, others began to share Tom's sense of intrigue, wondering if they were about to uncover the truth behind the strange occurrences. He refused to ignore the possibility that the creature's actions had meaning beyond what they could immediately understand. The creature kept swimming west, its massive form cutting effortlessly through the rolling waves. It moved with a purpose, deliberate and unwavering, no longer displaying the panic they had witnessed earlier. It was leading them somewhere, and the question that hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty, was where. The crew, still uncertain, slowly came to the conclusion that the creature wasn't their enemy, realizing that if it had wanted to harm them, it would have done so already. Instead, it had freed the fish from their nets. possibly trying to protect them or warn them about something more dangerous. As they followed the creature, the water grew darker and the air felt heavier. A crew member noted a strange, oily scent in the air, making the crew uneasy. The further they went, the more the water's surface appeared coated in a dark, viscous film. Tom realized with horror that it was oil, confirming their worst fears. The creature slowed, circling in the water, as if waiting for them to understand. It emitted a deep, eerie sound vibrating through their bodies, signaling that it wasn't just aimlessly swimming but trying to communicate a warning about the impending danger, something man-made and far worse than they had anticipated. A crew member's urgent voice cut through the air, pointing toward the horizon where towering ships loomed ominously. The water around them shimmered with oily streaks, a clear sign of human-caused devastation. Rick quickly grabbed the binoculars and confirmed what they feared. Ships were actively dumping something into the ocean, poisoning it deliberately. The realization hit hard. This wasn't an accident. The ocean was being intentionally harmed, and they were witnessing it firsthand. The crew fell into a stunned silence as the full weight of the situation settled over them. The warm water, the distressed fish, and the disturbed natural balance all made sense now. The cause was clear. Human greed and recklessness were destroying the sea. Tom, gripping the railing with urgency, declared that they couldn't ignore what they had discovered. They had to act. Knowing they were just fishermen and the ships were far more powerful, Tom's resolve remained unwavering. They needed proof of the destruction. Pulling out his phone, Tom began recording, capturing the toxic sludge spreading across the water and the looming ships in the distance. This was just the beginning. Tom knew they had to expose what they had seen. No matter how impossible it seemed, the fight to protect the ocean had begun. The crew quickly mobilized, each person grabbing their phones and cameras to document the unfolding disaster. They filmed the polluted water, the thick oil coating the surface, and the barrels leaking toxic substances into the sea. The ships in the distance disappeared into the haze, but the damage they had caused was undeniable. One crew member suggested sending the footage to the authorities, but the crew knew they needed clear, undeniable evidence, something more than just blurry shots. Without it, the companies responsible could continue their destruction without consequence. Tom glanced at the giant creature still circling nearby and quietly remarked that it had led them to this moment on purpose. It wanted them to witness the devastation. The crew carefully followed the ship's path, keeping their distance to avoid detection. They used zoom lenses and binoculars to capture every detail, the barrels being dumped, the spreading oil, and the sickly state of the ocean. Rick reminded them to stay cautious, aware that getting too close could result in them being noticed. Hours passed as they filmed from different angles, ensuring they had enough footage to prove the scale of the damage. Finally, Tom decided they had what they needed. The urgency in his voice was clear as he instructed the crew to leave before they were spotted. They had the evidence. Now it was time to get it into the hands of those who could stop the destruction. As Rick turned the boat to leave, a loud horn echoed across the water. The ships had spotted them. Panic spread among the crew, and they quickly accelerated, steering the boat towards safety. The engine roared to life, cutting through the waves at full speed as the polluted site shrank behind them. The ship didn't pursue, staying in the distance, a silent threat that warned them to remain silent or face consequences. Despite the danger, Tom was resolute. They had proof, and they wouldn't stay silent. As they reached shore, the crew transferred the footage to computers and sent it to authorities, news outlets, and marine biologists. The world soon took notice. Environmental groups, reporters, and government officials flooded in with demands for more information. The footage went viral, sparking a global outcry for action to protect the ocean. The crew's discovery had ignited a movement, and they knew they had done the right thing. The ships could no longer hide their actions. The crew realized the weight of their actions. They had forced the hand of those responsible, sparking a global movement for change. Tom couldn't shake the thought of the creature which had guided them to the truth, realizing it had been aware of the destruction and had chosen them for a reason. They sent their footage, including images of the mysterious creature, to marine experts, hoping to uncover the truth behind it. Days later, a biologist confirmed their suspicions. The creature was an extremely rare deep-sea whale, long believed to be extinct. Only 2 had ever been seen before, and this one had broken its natural behavior to help them. It was trying to protect its territory, the ocean, from destruction. The biologist explained that the whale had understood the threat posed by the human actions and had intentionally intervened. The crew, now fully grasping the creature's intelligence and purpose, realized that they had witnessed something extraordinary. They hadn't just encountered a rare animal, they had been part of a mission to protect the ocean. The news of the whale's involvement spread worldwide, and the footage became a catalyst for environmental action. The companies responsible for the illegal dumping faced heavy fines, and stricter regulations were implemented to safeguard the ocean. The crew's actions had helped give the ocean and its rare protector a fighting chance at survival, proving that even ordinary people could make a world-changing difference. The crew, forever changed by their encounter with the remarkable whale, realized they had done more than just expose environmental destruction. They had helped save a rare species and protect the ocean's fragile ecosystem. Though the whale was never seen again, the crew knew it was still out there, silently guarding its home, ensuring the ocean would be safe for future generations. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another unbelievable tale like this one.